lives we want. So it's really exciting, and
It's been exciting in different ways. I did my Facebook Live prior to this, and we just did a TikTok video.
yeah, TikTok Live, our first TikTok Live.
Man, the Federation keeps moving and growing, doesn't it?
We sure do.
Yeah.
We sure do. Absolutely.
And now we're getting ready for our actual opening session, our great gathering in, which
Yep.
I'm really looking forward to. President
Yeah.
Ricobono's comments. We might have some special guests, and then we're going to be talking over all the different pieces of legislation.
Absolutely.
Give us some history where the organization's been since the last time we came together. Speaking of coming together, normally this is in person, and normally there's a room full of 500 people.
Yes,
You know,
at
oh,
least.
and
And
the
it
energy
feels
is-
like more. Yes.
Yeah.
The energy is amazing.
Yeah.
That's really what I miss. So just close your eyes for a second and just imagine
Yeah, that's what I want you
these
guys to do.
really energetic
Push the energy
people.
to us so that we can feel it all the way here in this
Yes.
virtual space in the Utah Auditorium at the
Yes.
National Federation of the Blind Journeyman Institute, so we can give you that energy back.
Yes, because we really do miss that for sure. The yelling of, Ohio this way.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and people selling things. People are
Yeah.
always selling candy bars and
You know,
different things.
Washington Seminar really it's almost a mini convention.
It is,
It's
definitely.
not as many people, but just as much energy.
Yeah, you get to see friends you haven't seen in a long time.
Yep.
You know, you get to go over to the 21st Amendment, but that's on the other version of the Washington Seminar Pre-Gen. Those of you who know. Those who don't will find out maybe at some later date.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it's a great activity. And I just love during the whole week when we hit those hills, when we go into those halls, hearing those canes
Yes.
tapping and just the noise. Oh, I'm ready.
Yes, I'm ready too. But, even though we're doing it on Zoom and we miss all those things, we will still have these 4 issues and we will be having appointments throughout this week.
That's true.
So, if you haven't heard about our issues or you're really unsure about what our issues are, we're going to talk just a little bit about them. You can, Chris, help me out. NFB.org.
NFB.org/Washington-seminar.
That's what I was going to say, but I'm glad that you're making it official there. So you can go and read much more about these issues, but we will talk right now about them. I think Anil's going to start us
We're
off.
going to do our best just to get through the
We
names
may
of them.
even have them. I think we were going to put them on the homepage too. So,
That's
but
a
if you
great
don't
idea.
find them on
That
makes a lot of
NFB.org,
sense.
then NFB.org/Washington-seminar.
And you'll get to
Perfect.
read about, hey, the 21st Century Website and Application Accessibility Act, which is going to be really, this is past due for any administration to really put in place. But we need to make sure that there's a commitment to ensuring that websites and now even more so the mobile applications have accessibility built in so that we can use them to access services, to benefit from programs, hey, and even to play games, because we want to live the lives we want. And as more and more work goes through these platforms, the more important it is for it to be accessible for the blind of the nation to be able to access it. And let me just say really quickly for everyone else who's listening, the real return on investment is not just it creates a space for blind people, it creates a better experience for every user of each website and each application. So if you're a business out there, you shouldn't be balking about this. This is something you should be embracing because it's going to make you the best in class when you have an accessible website or accessible application.
Definitely. Then we're also going to be talking about the Access Technology Affordability Act, and this would actually give blind people a tax credit to help them pay for assistive technology such as braille displays, software for
You're using one right
computers.
there.
I'm using a braille display right
Yes,
now.
please.
Right, exactly. All of the things that we really need, not only to live the lives we want, but to be employed and to pay taxes back into the system often. And that's what we want to do, right? I mean, I don't know that anybody particularly likes paying taxes, but that's
Well,
part of
it's nice to be able to have the job that allows you to.
That's absolutely right. And that's really what it's all about. And, this will really encourage people to be able to purchase technology that, it's unfortunate, but it's very expensive often and can really mean the difference between being super productive or really lagging behind, not because you don't have skills or you don't have the ability to learn a different device or anything else, but just because you simply cannot afford that technology. And not everybody is able to get it through state rehab. Also, technology changes
Mm-hmm.
as it goes. And so, you might have something that rehab bought you 10 years ago that just isn't cutting it right now.
And
so
why
this
go
is
back
a
to
really
rehab to
important
give
thing.
them to pay for something when you, as an independent individual who's earning your own income, can go out and purchase that technology? But because it's an over expense to what anyone else would have to pay, isn't it reasonable that we should be able to at least get a credit for that expense just so that we can remain employed and fully participate?
Well, exactly. Plus, you're not limited to what rehab will buy.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
sometimes
Very
rehab
true.
has its own preferences.
Good point.
We'll buy you this Braille display, not the one that actually has the features that you actually want.
Right.
And
So-
need
And
to do the
need,
job.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's a Braille display. Here you go.
Here you go. What else do we have, Anil?
We have, and you guys probably have to stop me from talking about this one, the transformation to competitive integrated employment. This is a piece of legislation that, again, is well overdue. Right now in the books, through the Fair Labor Standards Act, under Section 14C, it's legal to pay people with disabilities less than the federal minimum wage. And we're talking about pennies per hour. We got individuals with disabilities out there making pennies per hour. And society has been led to believe, due to this antiquated policy, that it's the fault of the people with disabilities, because they continue to set low expectations and continue to think that we don't have the capacity to be competitive in the work environment. When the reality is, the programs and services that we continue to fight for to be accessible so that blind and other people with other disabilities can get the same education, the same training, it's not there. So we're fighting to get the education, fighting to get the training so that we can acquire the skill set to be competitive and employed. But rather than providing those services, they say we just can't. And that's society giving up on us, but we refuse to give up on ourselves. So we want a slow, progressive elimination of that provision that will allow these entities out here who think they need the 14C certificate to survive. My personnel perception of that is it's their subsidy. And if any business owner in any other context says that the only way that we will be able to stay in business is to pay our employees pennies per hour, I don't think that there's any other entity that the government would support to continue to stay in business by subsidizing them because they don't have the ability to create a productive business model. I'm getting upset. So I think that what happens with this particular bill is responsible. It gives them a transition to change their business model, adopt these proven practices, and hopefully create real opportunities for people with disabilities to earn a competitive wage. And I'll just have to pause.
And I just will say one very quick thing, which is people have done this. Other organizations have done this. There's states where this law has been taken off, and we've asked people there, or said that people can't have a 14C certificate. And oftentimes, productivity of the business goes up. I mean,
Yeah.
this is not hurting the businesses.
No.
This is really a wonderful thing all across the board. And so, and we've been working on this for years.
And we've
years
made
and
significant progress. I mean, we've been,
Yes.
since Dr. Timbrook, you can see his writings on this because it was back in the 1930s as this started. We've made progressive progress. And I think that this piece of advocacy, more so than most, shows the persistence of the Federation. I mean, this is why we don't lose, because we don't give up. And we continue to make progress, and fewer people are being subjected to this as they have in the past, but we won't rest until there's no one that has to suffer under this flawed piece of legislation.
Absolutely. And
Flawed
last
policy, rather. The legislation we're implementing is going to eliminate that flawed policy.
but policy, correct.
Sorry about that. Look
No,
what I did with the
no,
tone.
that's
No
okay.
worries.
Yeah, let's bring us out of that mercy.
So
Sorry.
the last one is the Medical Device Non-Visual Accessibility Act.
Nice.
And this one is really near and dear to my heart. I've been having some different medical issues, and luckily do not need a bunch of equipment, but certainly do need a CPAP at night. And luckily, the CPAP app is at least accessible to the point, or usable to the point, where I can see what my score is. You know, they make it like a game, you know, so you wear your CPAP at night. So I can see sort of, I mean, it really is. It's actually
Nice.
kind of funny. So, you know, you're trying for 100 points.
All
you know?
right.
So I can see whether I've had a 100-point night or a 90-point night or whatever. I can see how many events I've had per hour of apnea. I can see whether my mask was sealed correctly, how much percentage of the time. I can see how long I use my CPAP. You know, all of those things are really important, but
Nice.
they only work because of the app. If I didn't have a smartphone, I wouldn't have access to any of that information that a sighted user of the machine can just push buttons on their machine and actually get that same information on the machine itself. And this is really what we want to do. We want to make sure that medical devices are non-visually accessible, and not just CPAPs, but insulin pumps.
And that's a great
And-
example of how the organization works. I mean, we've had our Diabetes Action Network. These are individuals who are blind and need insulin pumps in order to make sure they can take care of themselves medically. In the past, insulin pumps had some vague degree of accessibility, but interestingly enough, the new innovative pumps that they're creating, they've moved away from accessibility. So our Diabetes Action Network and a small task force of those individuals have been actively engaging our insulin pump manufacturers to make sure they know how they can make it accessible, the importance of making it accessible. And this is just a complementary piece of legislation which really pushes this message throughout, so that if we're not depending on the niceness, right, of the companies feeling good about it, although it does make good business sense, because again, an accessible insulin pump is not just helpful for blind people. It's a multimodal way for anyone to verify that they're giving themselves the proper medication. So we're trying to make sure that we complement the work that we do as an organization, as individuals, is moving into a space where we can actually impact the broader public policy space to create opportunities everywhere.
Absolutely. And it's important for everybody, for yourself, also for blind parents. If you have a child that needs different medical devices, if you have an aging parent that stays with you or that you help take care of, even, things like getting employment in these kinds of areas. If the technology, if the devices are accessible, that just opens up so many different opportunities. So it's really important. And that's our last issue for the year.
Yeah,
So-
and it's important to understand that this doesn't happen organically. This, although we've been doing it for years, still requires a lot of time and energy and effort and resources to put together and carry off. And first and foremost, we have tremendous leadership, right? Because although our convention, which I'm looking forward to in New Orleans this year, is the supreme authority of the organization, our national president and board of directors are charged with the responsibility of carrying out those policies and procedures that our members say we want to implement throughout the whole year. So President Rick Bono takes this very seriously. I think this is also one of the most fun things that he does as well. But working together with our tremendous advocacy and policy team to set forth a real good legislative agenda that our members can buy into. And it doesn't happen just overnight. I know that John has been working with our advocacy and policy staff to perpetually continue to educate our members so that when they come to those meetings with, well, we're speaking to the choir, right? I'm sorry, I thought I was speaking to an external audience. Sorry, Federation. So that when you get into those meetings, you are well equipped and well informed and able to put forth, I forget the 4 Ps, so John will probably be mad at me, but he'll say them later, in place so that we could get these laws passed.
Well, and here's the thing that's really important, though. The policies that our advocacy and policy team crafts do come from the members.
Absolutely.
Our advocacy and policy team works with the staff on the Hill and with different people to craft the actual legislation that is implementing the things that our members have said that they need. So all of these issues, you can actually look at nfb.org/resolutions and see where that came from. But the other piece is that it's really the members coming to Washington, or in this case, participating virtually, that causes the change that we want, because the lawmakers are always so impressed to hear from their actual blind constituents and to hear our stories about why these initiatives are needed.
Right.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And I love that a lot of our state affiliates across the country use this as a model and also emulate it by creating state days at their capital as well. I know that when I was president of the Georgia affiliate, we started Blind Day at the Capitol, and we just used the model that we use here nationally. So we had individuals from across the state that would convene and come together at our state capital and do the same thing. And we were able to build on this strategy to really pass some significant legislation on the state level. And that's the collective action of the Federation that really makes the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, do we have anything from social media? Anybody who is tweeted at us or messaged us, said hello, any
Well-
texts, anything else you want us to cover?
Some
Well,
of the TikTok
not that I
video.
have seen, but my phone is acting up. Of course, this
dear,
would
I'm sorry.
happen. You know, this would happen when I need it to be working properly. It's not cooperating with me. But if you have messages on social media and I'm not giving you a shout out, that's why. It's not because we don't care about you or aren't paying attention. It's just because I haven't gotten the message because my phone decided to get sick.
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to perform an operation on it while I'm sitting here.
Well, hopefully you have accessible
Wow,
medical
I hope
devices
so.
that you
hope
can
so,
use to perform that operation.
That is really important. Really important. So when was your
Technology is wonderful when it works.
Yeah, absolutely. When was your first Washington seminar,
It
Neil?
was sometime in the late 90s, and I'll never forget coming to D.C., wondering, why are we coming up here? What impact is it going to have? And then the first meetings we had, I forget, it may have been Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney or something, but the Congresswoman or the member of Congress was actually in the room, which I did not expect. And I sat there kind of in awe with respect to the fact that all of the documentation that we had and the prep that we had prior to the meeting, just to see that go into play, it was just inspiring to see that because it was obvious that the member really did listen and really, just to be very candid, had no clue, right? And then I sat back and wondered, if we weren't here to educate her about this, I can see why she would be making decisions that were counter to what we want, because we recognize we live in a society that, although it's not meant intentionally, they make decisions based on a flawed sense of our capacity that really create more problems for us than they even intend. So
Right.
it was nice to be able to answer those questions for her and let her know how we feel about various policy, because she was able to move forward in a direction that supported our efforts.
That is wonderful. I can't remember. Well, my first student seminar, because there used to be a student seminar during Washington Seminar, that was 1999. But then I decided, you know what, I can be not bad, but I can actually skip classes. Like, this is what being a college student means. So then I think the next year or the year after, I finally got it together and said, no, I'm tired of just hearing about all this great work on the Hill. I'm going to come and help. It was Wisconsin at the time. Do our priorities. And I remember probably my most memorable one was kind of the same thing that you were saying, Anil. It was Tammy Baldwin, who was a representative at the time, now is one of Wisconsin's senators.
Nice.
And, sat down with us, had coffee. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm with Tammy Baldwin, and we're like, and I was from her district. I mean, it was this very cool. Again, you hear about these things reading your textbooks. You can go to Washington and you can talk to your Congress people, and that's how laws are made. I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill.
All right.
But
Sitting there on Capitol Hill.
exactly. But until you really do it. It's so much more powerful when you actually have that experience and you actually figure out, I'm making a difference, and all the blind people before me who have done this have made such a difference in my life, and all the people that will come after me will make the same difference, and that's just an amazing thing.
And you said
People
something
like
else that's
Colin
key.
Gallagher, who has tweeted us that he's going to be participating.
Oh,
so there,
thank you,
I
Colin.
got that one.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
You touched on something that was really important too, Melissa. You were saying that Representative Baldwin became Senator Baldwin, which I thought was really powerful, because we recognize that many of the members that we developed relationships with on the state level, when I was telling you we're doing that, also ascended to federal level positions.
Definitely.
So it's those relationships we developed.
Actually here in Maryland, Jamie Raskin is a really good example.
There
When
you
he
go.
was a state senator, I believe he sponsored one of our bills in Maryland and, was a big champion for us. And now he's in Washington doing fantastic things as one of our state is he he's a senator, right?
representative.
Representative.
He's in the
I'm
House of
sorry.
Representatives.
Right.
Yeah.
Van Hollen. I know. I need to study up.
No, you're good.
But anyway,
You got a team.
It
You and a
really
team.
is. It really is wonderful when things like that happen, and really important, and just shows that it's helpful when that happens.
Yeah, and that's really why we have the influence that we do. I tell people, and it's not being braggadocious, it's just true that, if members of Congress had to consider a piece of legislation tomorrow that we didn't like, by the same time Wednesday, they would have heard from, well,
Yes.
90% of them would have heard from either via email or text or
Yes.
mail or fax, or some even a knock on the door from a member of the Federation, a family member of the Federation, a friend of the Federation. And that's why we're able to do it. It's through that collective action, through that relationship building, and through all of our active participation. So again, my hat's off to each and every one of you that are here participating in the Washington Seminar. You should recognize that you are an influencer, and it's because of you that the National Federation of the Blind is able to make such positive change in the lives of all blind people. So what we do doesn't just benefit our members, it benefits blind people not only in this country, but around the world, because again, we are influencers in a real positive way.
Definitely. So we have about 4 more minutes. Chris, anything else you want us to cover? Or, I know President Riccobono standing over there or he was, I don't know if he still is, but he was standing over there at the podium.
He's still standing. Okay, sorry. I got the I'm Just a Bill song. It's still in my head. That's
Sorry.
the one.
It's
I'm
gonna be
trying
the
to get rid of
earworm.
it. Yeah, I'm
That's the
trying-
ultimate Washington Seminar song, exactly.
He signed you, Bill. Now you're a law.
Lord, yes.
Oh my goodness.
If you
Okay,
don't know
it's gone now.
Schoolhouse Rock, please, it's on Disney Plus. Look it up. Look it up. For all the young folk, the young folk that don't know what we're talking about, look it up. It's a fantastic song. A fantastic song.
Schoolhouse Rock was how I got my education.
Yes.
Well, not all of it.
That
but-
explains a lot. Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah, it does explain a lot, doesn't it?
Well, again, we're just so happy that all of you are here. And I'm just excited, Anil, that we are actually truly, for those that don't know, Anil and I are actually sitting at the same table in the same space together. It's the first time, one of the first times we've been in the same space since the National Convention. So it's really nice to be with you, Anil. And
Well, fun stuff.
actually,
and Will's telling us to wrap
sit
it
here.
up.
Yep, he is. He's saying wrap it up.
He's so bossy. He needs
but
to give us
that's
some
his job.
M&Ms. He needs to give us, okay, I'm sorry. All right, we're getting ready to sign off. Federation, thanks for all your hard work. Thanks for all your dedication. Let's move forward throughout the Washington Seminar and make sure we can let blind people live the lives we want.
And let's go build the National Federation of the Blind. And you